In the roaring 20s, a young man named Ethan arrived in New York City with dreams of making it big. He was born and raised in a small town in the Midwest, and had always been fascinated by the glamour and excitement of the big city. With nothing but a few dollars in his pocket and a dream in his heart, he set out to make a name for himself. Ethan quickly discovered that life in the city was both exhilarating and intimidating. The streets were crowded with people from all walks of life, and the pace of life was frenetic. But he was determined to make it, and he threw himself into his work with an energy and enthusiasm that soon caught the eye of his employers. One evening, Ethan received an invitation to a party at a magnificent mansion perched on a hill overlooking the city. The party was hosted by a man named Preston, who was known for his opulent parties and extravagant wealth. Ethan had heard about Preston before, but had never met him in person. He was intrigued by the invitation, and decided to attend the party. As Ethan made his way up the winding road to the mansion, he couldn't help but feel a sense of awe and wonder. The mansion was unlike anything he had ever seen before, with its towering columns, sweeping staircases, and glittering chandeliers. The air was thick with the scent of flowers and the sound of music. When he arrived, he was greeted by a sea of well-dressed men and women, all sipping champagne and laughing and talking as if they didn't have a care in the world. Ethan felt a thrill of excitement as he made his way through the crowd, taking in the sights and sounds of the party. As the night wore on, Ethan found himself drawn to a group of people who were huddled around a tall, handsome man with a broad smile and an air of confidence. It was Preston himself, holding court as if he were the king of the world. Ethan watched as Preston charmed his guests with his wit and his wealth, and felt a pang of envy. But then something unexpected happened. Preston turned to Ethan and asked him what he thought of the party. Ethan, taken aback by the sudden attention, stammered out a few words of praise. To his surprise, Preston seemed genuinely interested in what he had to say. They struck up a conversation, and soon found themselves deep in discussion about their dreams and ambitions. Ethan soon discovered that Preston's wealth was built on illegal activities, and that he was involved in a dangerous underworld of crime and corruption. But the allure of the wealthy lifestyle was too much to resist, and Ethan found himself increasingly drawn into Preston's world. He started attending more of Preston's parties, and soon found himself rubbing shoulders with some of the most powerful and influential people in the city. He was introduced to politicians, businessmen, and even movie stars. Everywhere he looked, he saw wealth and glamour and power. At the same time, Ethan found himself falling in love with a woman named Lily. He had met her at one of Preston's parties, and had been captivated by her intelligence and her beauty. Lily was kind and compassionate, and shared Ethan's disillusionment with the shallow and superficial society they found themselves in. As Ethan became more deeply involved with Preston's criminal activities, he began to see the dark side of the glamorous world he had been so captivated by. He started to question whether the pursuit of wealth and status was really worth the cost. One night, he found himself sitting alone on the balcony of Preston's mansion, staring out at the city below. He was deep in thought, wondering whether he was on the right path or if he had lost his way. As he sat there, lost in contemplation, he heard footsteps behind him. It was Lily, looking beautiful in a simple dress and a strand of pearls. She came to stand beside him, looking out at the city with him. "Ethan," she said softly, "what are you thinking about?" He turned to her, meeting her gaze. "I don't know, Lily. I feel like I've lost my way. Like I've been chasing something that doesn't really matter." Lily took his hand, squeezing it gently. "You haven't lost your way, Ethan. You're just on a different path than you thought you would be. But that doesn't mean you can't change direction." Ethan looked at her, struck by her wisdom and compassion. "You're right, Lily. I need to find my own path. One that's true to who I am, not just what I think I should be." From that moment on, Ethan began to distance himself from Preston's world of wealth and corruption. He started to focus on his own goals and ambitions, pursuing them with a renewed sense of purpose. He and Lily fell deeply in love, and began to build a life together that was grounded in honesty, integrity, and mutual respect. They found joy in the simple things in life: long walks, good conversation, and a shared love of books and music. Years passed, and Ethan became a successful businessman in his own right, with a reputation for honesty and fairness. He and Lily had children, and watched them grow up with pride and joy. One day, as he sat in his study, surrounded by books and memories, he thought back to that night on the balcony of Preston's mansion. He remembered the sense of loss and confusion he had felt, and how Lily had helped him to find his way. He realized that the pursuit of wealth and status had never truly been his goal. What he had been searching for all along was something much deeper: a sense of purpose, a sense of connection, a sense of belonging. As he looked out the window at the city he had once been so enamored with, he felt a sense of peace and contentment. He had found his way, and it had led him to a life filled with love and meaning. And as he closed his eyes, he knew that he had finally arrived home. But even as Ethan found happiness and contentment, the world around him was changing. The Roaring Twenties gave way to the Great Depression, and the optimism of the previous decade was replaced by uncertainty and fear. Ethan's business struggled, and he was forced to lay off workers and make difficult decisions. But even as he faced these challenges, he remained true to his values, treating his employees with respect and fairness. As the years passed, the world continued to change. The Second World War broke out, and Ethan's children went off to fight for their country. The family home was transformed into a makeshift hospital for wounded soldiers, and Ethan and Lily worked tirelessly to care for those in need. Through it all, Ethan remained committed to his principles, even as others around him compromised theirs. He watched as many of his peers fell from grace, caught up in the greed and corruption of the times. But Ethan remained steadfast, a beacon of integrity in a world that seemed to have lost its way. And though he faced many challenges and setbacks, he never lost sight of what was truly important. When he passed away, his family and friends gathered to remember him, and to honor the legacy he had left behind. They spoke of his kindness, his compassion, and his unwavering commitment to doing what was right. And as they said their final goodbyes, they knew that Ethan had left the world a better place than he had found it. For even in the darkest of times, he had shown that there was always hope, as long as one stayed true to their values, and never lost sight of what was truly important.